Welcome back to the reading of the poem of the Man God, written by Maria del Torta, Volume 3, Chapter 359, Part 2, Rose of Jericho. The apostles feel that it is necessary to forget mud, rain, and all the other miseries in order to comfort him. They gather round him and say, "Do not grieve. We are in no need of bandits, and that is what he is, because only a wicked person can believe such slander and be afraid of you." But they also say, "How unwise of you, Master, and if he hurt you, why say that you are Jesus of Nazareth?" Because it is the truth. Let us go towards the mountains, as he suggested. We will lose a day, but you will get out of the quagmire. And you too, they remark. Oh, it does not concern me. It is the quagmire of dead souls that worries me, and tears stream down his face. Do not weep, Master. We grumble, but we love you. If we should meet your slanderers, we will take vengeance upon them. You shall forgive as I do. But let me weep. I am the man, after all, and it grieves me to be betrayed, disowned, and abandoned. Betrayed, disowned, abandoned. Look at us, consider us. We are few but good. None of us will betray or abandon you. Believe us, Master. Certain things should not even be mentioned. The thought that we may betray you is an insult to our souls, exclaims the Iscariot. But Jesus is distressed. Silent, slow tears stream down the pale cheeks of his tired, emaciated face. They approach the mountains. Shall we go up there, or shall we go along the foot? There are villages halfway up the hills. Look, on both sides of the river. They point out to him. It is getting dark. Let us try and reach a village, any village at all. Judas Thaddeus, whose eyesight is very good, scans the sides of the mountains. He approaches Jesus and says, "In case of need, there are fissures in the mountains. Can you see them there? We can take shelter in them. It will be better than being in mud." "We will light a fire," says Andrew, to console everybody. "What? With damp wood?" asks Judas of Kerioth ironically. No one replies to him. Peter whispers, "I bless the Eternal Father that neither the women nor Margium are with us." They cross the bridge, a very old one, at the foot of the valley, and they go along its southern side, on a mule track to a village. It is getting dark very quickly, so much so that they decide to take shelter in a large cave to avoid a heavy shower. The grotto is probably used as a shelter placed by shepherds, because there is straw, dirt, and a rough fireplace. "It is of no use as a bed, but to light a fire," says Thomas, pointing at the dirty twigs spread on the ground, together with dry ferns and branches of juniper and similar plants. He draws them with a stick close to the fireplace, and once he has made a heap of them, he sets them alight. Smoke and foul smell rise from the fire, together with the smell of resins and juniper. Excuse me. Yet the warmth of the fire is pleasant, and they all form a semicircle round it, eating bread and cheese in the flickering light of the flames. "We could have tried to reach the village," says Matthew, who is hoarse and is suffering from a cold. "What? To go through the same trouble as 3 nights ago? No one will drive us away here. We will sit on those logs over there and keep the fire going as long as we can. We can now see that there is plenty wood in here. Look, and straw. It is a sheepfold, which they use in summer or when they migrate. And what is this? Where does this take to?" "Take a branch of flame, Andrew, as I want to see," says Peter, who is moving about curiously. Andrew obeys. They slip through a narrow fissure in a wall of the grotto. "Make sure there are no unpleasant beasts in there," shout the others. "Or lepers," says Thaddeus. After a moment, Peter's voice can be heard. Come in here. It's much better here. It is clean and dry, and there are some wooden benches and firewood. It's a palace for us. Bring some of the burning branches so that we may light a fire at once. It must be a shelter for shepherds, and this is the grotto where some sleep while the others who are on guard watch the sheep. It is an excavation in the mountain, which is smaller than the other one, and probably made by man, or at least enlarged and reinforced by means of poles supporting the vault. A very old rustic chimney is bent in the shape of a hook towards the outer cave, to draw the smoke that otherwise would have no outlet. Rough benches and straw are placed against the walls, in which there are some hooks to hang up lamps, clothes, or bags. Lovely. Let us make a big fire. We shall be warm and our mantles will dry. Give me your belts. We will join them together and hang our mantles on them, says Peter, while he sorts out benches and straw. And he concludes, and now we will sleep and keep the fire burning in turns, so that we shall have light and shall be warm. What a grace of God! Judas grumbles between his teeth. Peter turns round angrily. This is a royal palace as compared to the grotto in Bethlehem where the Lord was born. If he was born there, we can spend a night here. And it is also more beautiful than the grottos of Arbela. There was nothing beautiful there except our hearts, which were kinder then, says John, and he gets lost in his mystical remembrance. And it is also much better than the one where the Master stayed to prepare himself for the office of a preacher, says the zealot gravely, looking at the Iscariot as if he wanted to tell him to stop it. Jesus is the last to speak, and it is by far warmer and more comfortable than the one in which I did penance for you, Judas of Simon, in this month of Tebeth. Penance for me? Why? There is no need of it. Really, you and I ought to spend our lives in penance to free you from what overburdens you, and still it would not be enough. The sentence, pronounced calmly but decidedly, drops like a thunderbolt on the dumbfounded group. Judas lowers his head and withdraws to a corner. He dare not react. I will remain awake and look after the fire. You can sleep, orders Jesus after some time. And shortly afterwards, the heavy breathing of the tired 12, lying on the benches among the straw, mingles with the crackling of the fire. And when the straw falls off anyone, leaving his body uncovered, Jesus gets up and covers him again with the loving care of a mother. And he weeps while contemplating the hermetic faces of some of his sleeping apostles. Some, in fact, are placid, some worried. He looks at the Iscariot, who seems to be grinning also in his sleep, with a grim countenance and clenched fists. He looks at John, sleeping with one hand under his cheek, while his rosy face is veiled by his fair hair, and he looks as serene as a child in a cradle. He looks at the honest face of Peter, at the severe face of Nathanael, at the pockmarked face of the zealot, and at the aristocratic one of his cousin Judas. And he contemplates for a long time James of Alphaeus, who is so much like a very young Joseph of Nazareth. He smiles upon hearing the monologues of Thomas and Andrew, who appear to be speaking of the Master. He carefully covers Matthew, who is breathing with difficulty, and he gets more straw with which he covers his feet after warming it near the fire. He smiles, hearing James proclaim, "Believe in the Master, and you will have life," and continue to speak to people in his dream. And he bends to pick up a bag in which Philip keeps dear souvenirs, and lays it gently under his head. And in the intervals, he meditates and prays. This has been a reading from the poem The Man God, written by Maria Valtorta, Volume 3, Chapter 359, Part 2, Rose of Jericho. Thank you for listening. I will see you tomorrow. May God bless you, and may peace be with you.